Welcome to Catholic Truths. Today we're going to be enjoying the sounds of nature, including crows, insects, and golf carts. Saints. When that term is brought up in regards to Catholicism, it brings up a whole host of questions and a whole lot of beliefs about Catholics that is not true at all. So what is a saint? There's two definitions within the Catholic Church of what a saint is. There is the general overall definition in which saints are people who follow Jesus and live their lives according to his teachings. However, more specifically, there are saints, this is a capital letter, who are especially holy men and women who, by persevering in the Christian faith and living extraordinary lives of virtue, have already entered heaven. This may differ from certain Protestant groups, but the Catholic view is that saints are people that are already in heaven. The word saint comes from the Latin word sanctus, and this means holy. Now, how many saints are there? Because, when you start thinking about saints, you can start listing off a whole bunch of them, and you realize there's a ton of them. Well, there's no official head count, but we know there's at least over 10,000. The reason there's no official head count is just because the people we recognize as saints are just the people we went out of our way to recognize. This doesn't count at all for all the people that are saints already anyways, so that's why there's no official number. So how does one become a saint? Now, you might remember this the past few years in regards to Pope John Paul II and Mother Teresa, because they both went through the process of canonization. This is the process of recognizing someone as a saint. So this started in the 10th century. Before this, saints were chosen by public acclaim. So pretty much if people believed this person was a saint and there was a big enough of a outcry for it, the church would deem them a saint. Unfortunately, even though this is seen as a more democratic process, it also led to many myths and legends. In fact, you get some issues where you have people possibly flying around and doing all sorts of absurd things that don't seem to even at all recognize it, be for God's glory or anything, but more of personal gain. We also get issues where you had people combine different people together and they created new individuals. So like you have the issue of like Saint Christopher or something. And overall, more modernly, the churches went back through and tried to find these mythical saints and just had, silently remove them and stuff. But there's still a few that are still considered saints at the time, for the time being. Canonization begins after the death of an individual that is deemed holy. And it has to be after the death for some of the reasons below. The local bishop first investigates the candidate's life and writings for either heroic virtue, did they die a martyr? I would say or, but and orthodoxy of doctrine, meaning did they teach exactly what the church taught or did they teach heresy? They are then evaluated by a panel of theologians in the Vatican. Then after this, they have to be approved by both the Vatican's council, or this panel of theologians, and this is a long name, the cardinals of the Congregation for the Causes of Saints. So they have to be approved by both of them. And once they are, the Pope will deem the candidate as venerable. You may recognize this term from the name of the venerable bead, for example. After someone's deemed venerable, they go through the process of beatification. Now, this is not beautification. This is a common misreading of the word. I'm referring to the Beatitudes, beatification. For this process, evidence of one miracle is required. Because miracles, as I said, this is why they have to wait until after death. Miracles are seen as proof that the candidate is in heaven and is interceding for our prayers. However, there is an exception, and this is for martyrs. A miracle isn't required for martyrs for beatification. The Pope will then proclaim the candidate as beatified, and this means blessed, by the way. Now, the final step of canonization is complete sainthood. And for this to happen, a second miracle has to be confirmed. This also includes martyrs as well. Now, this does not mean that they have to have a second miracle for the martyrs. This means they have to have this, in this process, it would be their first miracle confirmed, but this is a second process. So this would be, for most candidates, a second miracle. Now, historically, the total number of miracles needed has actually changed. In the past, it's been as low as 1, and I think more recently it was 3 until it was changed to 2 miracles, which is the current process. If this is confirmed, the Pope will then proclaim the candidate as a saint. Now, we have to remember, this does not make a candidate a saint. This just recognizes the sainthood that the person already has. Now, the process of canonization is infallible, but it does take time. It can sometimes take many years. In fact, some of the quickest we've ever seen it is with Pope John Paul II and Mother Teresa. Now we get to the topic of the veneration of saints. So, again, we discussed this with Mary, but we're discussing it with saints. To start with, Christians were honoring saints by the 1st century, and or in the 1st century, and they were asking for intercessions. You can see this in the writings of some of these early church fathers, including Saint Ignatius of Antioch. We get to the issue where you'll see statues and pictures and other things that have the saint's image on them. These are not idols. We are not praying to them. In fact, praying to them is idolatry and is a sin, and will get you excommunicated from the church if you continue to do this. These images are meant to be symbolic reminders of who these people are and what they did in their life. Now we get to the issue of praying to saints. You know, as we discovered this a little bit with Mary, we're not actually praying to them. First of all, praying is sort of like a term. It's an older term to make a request. So a more accurate modern way to say this would be we're praying with the saints. Just as you ask a friend, a loved one, someone like that, family, to pray for you during something, we do the same thing with the saints. And because of that, we have we have something that's referred to as a patron saint. You say, well, what is a patron saint? What's different? They're not anybody different. They're still saints. What it is saints will a lot of times have specific things attributed to them. Patron saints are saints that are chosen as special protectors or guardians over certain areas of life, including illness, churches, countries, and causes. Anything important. And when it comes to making a patron saint, you know, or choosing one, I should say, choosing a patron saint, you can do one individually, or you can do one as a family, or you can do one as an organization, including a church or even a business. Just an example of a list of certain saints, we have Saint Francis of Assisi. He is the patron saint of animals and the environment, and this is easily seen in statues and portraits of him where you see animals and nature and everything around him. We have St. Augustine of Hippo, who is the patron saint of brewers, of all things, brewers, printers, and this doesn't mean the machine printers, this is like people that write, like scribes, and theologians. And it makes sense because he's an early church father. More recently, we have Mother St. Teresa, and she is the patron saint of Missionaries of Charity, which is the organization that she founded. And we have Pope John Paul II, who is the patron saint of young Catholics and families. Yes, well, how do you choose one? Well, if you want a patron saint for yourself, just either find something that's specifically you and see if there's a patron saint for that, or you could read through the lives of certain people and see if you connect with them. See, personally, when I was confirmed, I chose St. Augustine as my patron saint because even though I'm not really a brewer, printer, or theologian, his personal life was very similar to mine in many ways, and so I connected with him. My wife, I cannot remember the saint she chose, but it was a saint that was over midwifery or nursing or something in those regards. Early on, we chose St. Francis as our patron saint, but we really didn't stick with that. I chose it because that was the name of the church that we'd been confirmed at. It didn't really seem to connect properly for us. And as I was actually doing some studying for this video, when I came across Pope St. John Paul II, I saw that he's the patron saint of families, and I talked to my wife, and that was a full agreement. We both love this man, and we chose him as our patron saint. So that's how that works. That's the end of this video. Next week, I'm going to cover a topic that people have been asking for a few weeks. It's just taking me a lot longer to get it ready, and that is the subject of the Mass. You know, not mass objects, but the Catholic Mass, our Sunday worship services. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you're curious about my sources of information, I'll have them linked in the description below. Follow me on Twitter. You can just follow me at Catholic_truths.com. That's going to be in the description below. Also, be sure to visit our Amino. It's called Catholics. If you just download the app, you can just type in Catholics, and we'll be the first one to pop up. Again, that link for that's in the description below. I still recommend Catholics, the community in Amino. It's great. It lets us get together and chat. Unlike Facebook groups, there's a lot more leeway of what we can do in it. We can post videos and create chat rooms and everything like that. And it's a great place and a great community to learn and just be with other Catholics. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. God bless.